My first 10K month with my agency came while I was working a job and doing the agency on the side. And I want to make this video because I know a lot of people watching this and a lot of people in the beginning stages are in the same spot. Whether you have school, you work a job, whatever it may be, you're not able to dedicate the 12 hours of time all of these gurus tell you that you need to every single day. Otherwise, you're not going to make it because that's just not realistic. So in this video, I want to pretty much show you what works for me, how to schedule your day, how to block time, and how to maximize the limited time that you have, because we don't all have the luxury of being able to do the agency 24/7, do whatever business you're doing 24/7, but it comes down to priorities because we all have the same amount of time in the day. And that's the first realization. I just want, by the way, at the end of this video, I want you to be able to maximize your time and actually have practical takeaways you can go and implement right after watching this. So the first thing though is realizing that it's normal. The people I talk with who complain about that they don't have enough time are the people who are always going to be behind because they're acting like they're at some disadvantage and that it's abnormal that they have other responsibilities. Of course, you have other responsibilities in the beginning. The reason that you're starting the agency in the first place is because you have other responsibilities that you probably don't enjoy as much, whether that's working a job, whatever it may be, going to school. So for context on me, for those of you who don't know, I started my agency last November, so a little over a year ago now. I started while I was in university playing soccer and working a job as well. Now, I dropped out of school my first semester, and so about a month, 2 months later, but I was still working a job as a server part-time at the night shift, right? So that's one thing though, is I made my schedule around my priorities. So I wasn't working and sometimes you're not able to, but I was working a night shift instead of during the day. So then I would have the time to work on the agency. Now, a lot of you guys maybe don't have that luxury. So that's just one small thing you can do, but that's if you have the opportunity, I would do that. But that was my situation. So I could dedicate as much time as possible on the agency. But even then, I was still so tired. I needed to get sleep and stuff, obviously. But the first thing that helped me was just writing down your priorities, right? What are your priorities in not only just day by day, but in life? What's the reason you're even doing this in the first place? Why even start an agency instead of going down the comfortable path that is normal, that your parents tell you to, that your friends are going? Like, why not do that? And your answer to that question is going to be your North Star and the thing that propels you forward and helps you realize every single day when you don't have time, when you're sacrificing sleep, why you're actually doing this. If you don't have a why, you're not going to be able to consistently stick with it, much less make it work. Because you can have the perfect roadmap, the perfect plan, the perfect scripts, right? That's the whole point of this channel, giving you all this stuff. But 99% of you who watch this aren't ever going to make any money from this stuff because you just don't implement it. You don't know why you're doing this. But like for me, I knew the reason I started the agency in the first place, I could not work for someone else, but also I knew that I want to live up to my full potential that God gave me. And I feel like this business model is the way I can do that, or this specific business at this time is the way I can do that. So that's kind of my why. And also obviously providing for my family, having freedom, not having to work for someone, not feeling controlled by someone. Those are my reasons. But I want to challenge you and have you right now, pause the video, go write down your reasons. Why are you even doing this in the first place? Until you get clear on that, you're never going to be able to fully unlock your true potential with your limited time and maximize your time. So that's the first thing right there. Once you have your priority, you know why you're doing this, you need to go and actually map out your day. What are your day-to-day obligations? So maybe it's school, maybe you have a job, maybe then it's also the agency working on the business, maybe you have to walk your dogs, right? Anything like that. Go write down all of the priorities, all of your responsibilities, I should say, of things that you have to do during the day. You're going to get a list, get maybe 10 to 15 things on there. Maybe it's 5 or so, right? It doesn't matter. Some people have more, some people have less. You're not at a disadvantage if you have more. That's just the way things are. You can either complain about it and sulk about it, or you can make the most of it. So if you're watching this, I need you to make the most of it. That's the only way you make this work. Once you have all of your responsibilities throughout the day written down, what I want you to do is look at that list and rank them from most, like top priority to bottom priority. So as an example, obviously feeding your dogs probably can't be bottom because otherwise they're going to die. You don't want your dog to die. You know what I mean? So like be rational with it. But like genuinely, and also, I'm not saying you need to go and put the agency as a number one priority just to say, yeah, it's my number one priority. Like, no, if you're focused on school and you need to, like you're in high school, like school should still be a really top priority. But like for me, I was doing well. I had a pretty good GPA. I could get by in school without putting much work in. So for me, the agency was a higher priority. And that's why I started working on the agency while I was in school. Like during classes, I wouldn't even pay attention. I would just work on the agency half the time, even in college. And that came back to bite me a bit. But didn't matter. I dropped out. Anyways, I'm not encouraging you guys to drop out by any means, but it's just what worked for me. But you have your priorities. Now you list them out. You're going to have your top 3 priorities. And the agency should be somewhere in there, right? If it's not in there, then maybe now is not a great time to work on the agency. Because if the agency is not a top 3 priority, your business isn't a top 3 priority, you should probably focus on these other priorities you have, whether it's graduating, whatever it may be. But for a lot of you watching this, the agency is going to be top 3, if not the top priority, like it was for me specifically. Right, I had a lot of priorities in there. I had soccer because I was playing at a collegiate level. I had school, right? I can't flunk out paying all this money. And then basically the agency was in there as well. For me, that was still the number 1 priority though. That's what I wanted to focus my time on the most. But once you have that though, once you have your top 3 priorities, you need to go and do a time audit. So what I mean by time audit is just like people audit businesses, people audit everything, right? Some people's job is to do audits. You need to audit yourself. So I learned this from a mentor as well, but doing a time audit is basically you go every 30 minutes, set a timer, and you're going to go, after every 30 minutes, you're going to go write down exactly what you did the last 30 minutes. So if you scrolled on social media for 5 minutes and you went to the bathroom, then you went and grabbed a snack, you're going to write that down on exactly the time increments, how long each thing was. Because what we're going to do with the limited time you have is you need to understand where you're actually spending your time and how we can maximize your time. So you're going to write this out. You're going to do it for maybe a week straight. We're auditing your time. Yeah, it's going to suck for the week you do it, but then you're never going to have to do it again because you actually understand that you're maximizing your time. But you're going to audit yourself and you're going to see where you're spending most of your time. And what you're going to do with this audit, you're going to see all these places where you're spending your time and you're going to compare it to your priority list. And if the things don't align, if you're spending a disproportionate amount of your time scrolling social media, and that's at the bottom of your priority list, then you learn something. You need to rethink that. You need to stop. You need to really change something there. Now, if scrolling on social media is at the top, and that's the most amount of time you're putting into something, then it makes sense. But if you're watching this again, that's not your priority. So your actions need to align with what you're actually doing. So if your priority is school, agency, sport, your time should reflect that school, agency, sport. If agency is supposed to be the top priority and you're spending and it's coming last and you're spending more time on social media than you are on your agency, then something's up there. Now, I'm not saying just because the agency, let's say, is your number 1 priority, doesn't mean you need to spend the most amount of time on it, because that's not possible. But you should spend, if you have 8 hours of school, after those 8 hours, what are you doing? Right? Even if school is not your number 1 priority, what are you doing after that? Right? It's not just a 1 + 1 = 2. It's more comparing your priorities of things like the opportunity costs. The opportunity costs of you scrolling on social media, going out to eat with friends, going to movies and stuff, is you sacrificing that you can't spend time in your agency. That's a problem right there. You're going to need to make sacrifices. And that leads me to the next part, is just realizing that sacrifices are going to need to be made. It's not something that's easy. It's not something that's fun. I'll tell you what, and I don't talk about this a ton, but for the last year and a half, I'll be honest, I basically don't leave the house unless it's for the gym, going to a cafe once in a while, maybe getting together with some buddies once in a while. But right now, I'm in a season of grinding. Especially when I was starting, I didn't leave the house unless it was going to the gym. And a lot of you guys are watching this, you're like, dude, this guy has no life. Yeah, maybe I don't right now, but I'm building towards the life that I want. And that's what you guys don't realize. A lot of you guys just aren't willing to sacrifice. And I'm not saying I'm perfect either, right? But I have a pretty good work ethic, which has allowed me to move at the pace I have. Because I've made sacrifices. I've realized you can't get, I'm trying to think of an analogy, but you can't get the reward without going through the trials and the tribulations of it and making sacrifices. That's just not how it works. Otherwise, everyone would be doing this and I wouldn't even have to make a video like this. But the reason I'm doing this is because this is one of the most common things I see is guys with limited time either maximizing it or they make excuses and complain about how they don't have time. Yeah, it sounds good. I want to learn how to do this agency stuff, but I just don't have the time. I'm going to yeah, just kind of keep doing it, keep doing it here and there. It's like, okay, that's fine, right? You do you, but you're not going to see the success at the speed that you want it. And for me, when I put my mind to something, I really want to do it. I want to move fast. But again, it depends. You got to think about, why are you doing this? What's your why? Going back to the first thing that we asked, the first question you ask yourself, what is your why? And it just comes down to prioritizing, because you either make excuses or you realize you have the same 24 hours in the day as every other human being. You're not special. You're not unique, no matter what your mom tells you, right? You have the same amount of time as everyone else. A lot of people have less time than you, and they're still 10, 20, 30 times more successful than you. And I'm not saying that's not the case for me as well, right? There's people who probably work less than me, making a lot more money than me. So by no means am I perfect or am I some saint. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is, you can either be the person who makes the most of your time, realizes that every second is a gift, and it's just about how you spend it, how you prioritize it, or you can go complain about it. And in your free time, when you finally do have time, you're too tired to go work on the agency because it's not a priority for you. You don't really want it bad enough. That's really what it comes down to. Is if you want it bad enough, you're gonna make a way. You're gonna find time. And it comes as well. It goes back to like how fast you want it. You can either go and try to do everything yourself, which is what I did in the beginning, right? I did it in the beginning, but then I got to a point where I realized there's only so much I know and there's so much I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. And getting to that point, once I realized that, I was like, okay, I can't do this myself. And that kind of leads to the next point. I'm not trying to say, I made a previous video on this about mentorships and the value of them. But for me, genuinely, it's just having someone, because like when you don't have a lot of time, you need to make sure you're spending your time on the right stuff. And if you're trying to do it yourself and you haven't built a business before, right? If you built a successful agency before, then you definitely know what to do with your time. But what you don't want to happen, and this is what happened to me the first couple months, I was spending all this time, spending hours every day during school, after school, cold calling, making like pitch decks, making all this stuff. Looking back, I was not making good use of that time. I was working, but I wasn't actually moving the business forward. So I spent 3 or 4 months working, but not really on the right stuff. I was maybe focusing on 10% of my time on the right things. Looking back, I could have done it in a quarter of the amount of time that I did, making 30K a month in probably 2 or 3 months instead of a year. Just simply the fact of knowing what to focus on, of someone who's been there, done that, show me what to do. So it's something to take into consideration as well, is if you are limited on time, and obviously if you have capital as well, right? If you don't have capital, then that's right, you either pay with time or money. So it kind of comes down to that. But if you do have capital, I would highly recommend finding a mentor, someone who's been there and done that before. That's at least what helped me personally. That's why I still invest in mentors. But again, at the end of the day, you don't need a mentor. You don't need the most time in the world. You just need to have priorities and know why you're doing it. That's the most important part. So that's basically everything. Again, I'll try to recap this. I hope you guys are getting value from this, though. It's kind of a more of an unorthodox video, but I get a lot of questions on this. And if you do have questions or you want to connect with me, I always love hearing from you guys. Just go shoot me a DM message on Instagram at noah.haupt. It's just my name, or it's in the description as well. Always love connecting with you guys, helping you guys out. But basically, you're gonna, again, figure out why you're doing this. What is the reason you're doing this? And you should write this down on paper, stick it on your wall if you have to, right? I wasn't before, but I'm a big believer in like manifesting, right? Not like idolizing it, right? Praying to God, that's the most important thing. It's all in God's will. So not idolizing this stuff, but really manifesting it of like, okay, I can do this. I can see myself here. And then praying that God gives you the wisdom to do so. Praying that God blesses you. That's the first thing, is why you're doing this. Second is, again, time audit. Where are you actually spending your time? Make a list of your priorities and see, is where your priorities are, is that where you're spending most of your time? If it's not, then you need to rethink that. And I'll also add one other thing that helped me. And sorry, these videos are all over the place where I'm just yapping, right? Just straight up yapping. But one other thing that I do to this day, the most beneficial thing I've done, and I learned this from Kevin O'Leary, who is the guy in Shark Tank. I heard him, who's Mr. Wonderful in Shark Tank, if you're familiar. I heard this on the Diary of a CEO, and he was on there with Stephen Bartlett, if that's how you pronounce his name. But he said what he does, and I think this is what Jeff Bezos did, or I forget, I believe it was Bezos, unless it was someone else. When Kevin was working at Amazon, sorry, I'm totally blanking. I don't know if it was Bezos. No, it was. But he was saying that he basically, what do you call them? Oh, he called them signals. There's like signals versus noise. The signals are the 3 to 5 things that you need to get done that are going to move the business forward the most. And what Bezos did an exceptional job at was focusing on those signals every day. What are the 3 to 5 actions that are going to move the business forward the most? And even if you have 2 hours a day, if you get those 3 to 5 signals done, maybe that's 100 cold calls, maybe that's sending 50 DMs, maybe that's recording a piece of content. If you get those done, you are moving the business forward as much as humanly possible in the amount of time you have. Yeah, you're not going to get as much done as someone working 8 hours a day. But if you get those signals done, that's the 80-20. You're still getting 80% of the way there, even in a quarter of the time by just focusing on those things. So before every night, I write down the 3 to 5 things that I need to get done the next day that are going to have the highest impact on my business moving me forward. And you're going to focus on your day is not complete until you do those things. But once you do those, it's like, okay, that's the 80-20. Now the other stuff you can do, yeah, maybe you can go and do some other stuff, watch some videos and stuff, right? Not just like brain rot, but obviously like maybe like a sales video. But only after you finish these signals, these things that are the highest leverage tasks to move the business forward. If you focus on those day after day, I'm telling you, you are going to be substantially ahead of yourself if you were to just do whatever and just wing it. So that's basically everything. Again, time audit, prioritize why are you doing this, and then also signals versus noise, focus on the signals on the high leverage tasks. So again, a bit of a more unorthodox video. I'm gonna end by saying you don't get more time by making excuses. You either make excuses and you stay stuck and stay where you are. A year later, you're in the same exact spot because you don't know why you're doing it. You didn't prioritize. You're not making sacrifice. You're not investing in yourself. Or a year later, you look back and you completely change your life the same way that I did when I look back a year from now. I'm nowhere where I want to be as well. By the way, I have way bigger goals than this. But looking back, I made so much progress in a year because I've done all the things that I showed you in this video. No, I'm not perfect. It took me a lot of time to realize this stuff. But my goal with this channel is that you can watch a video like this, not only just be one of those mental masturbation videos where you watch it, comes in one ear, goes out the other. You actually take action. Stop watching a bunch of videos, video after video. You actually take action, go do something with this information. Otherwise, it's just going one ear out the other. You're not actually getting wisdom from it. Go learn, go apply this, and actually come back to me. Be like, hey, Noah, I applied this, and I signed 3 extra clients this week. Go do that, and I'll put you on my story, right? I'll put you on my Instagram story because that's what I want to see. This earth, right? This business rewards action takers who take action fast. If you're just sitting on the sidelines, people are going to pass you. So it's about prioritizing what you want. So if you're watching this to this point, I know you want it, so go and get it. If you have questions, shoot me a message on Instagram. Love connecting with you guys. But again, go take action. Don't be the guy who watches this, doesn't do anything. I'm going to see you on the top. Peace.